What is up, guys? Mcdoubles back again with a brand new video, and today we're going to talk about 10 brand new Mystic Enchants introduced with the Burning Crusade from Project Ascension that you guys need to look out for. These are 10 incredibly either powerful or just unique enchants that either add new ways to play the game or improve heavily on existing ways to play. So, hope you guys enjoy. Let's jump right in. Alright, so the first Mystic Enchant on my list is a really cool one, brand new. It's only been in the game for a few days, so I guess everything is always tentative. It's always subject to change, as the alpha still has a couple weeks, 3 weeks or so before it comes out. But I think this is one that is here to stay because it seems balanced, but it is incredibly flavorful and very cool, and I would say, at least in some situations, very strong. And that is going to be Ethereal Form. So, as you can see, Ethereal Form reduces all physical damage that you take by 10%, reduces all threat that you create by 10%, but the trade-off is that you'll take 10% increased magic damage. You can go ahead and take a look. It literally makes you ethereal. It is cool. Now, if you guys don't know, Ethereal Form was actually a Warcraft 3 ability that the Horde, or the Orc race, could use, and it was found on their Tauren caster unit, and it worked very similarly in concept. When they were not in Ethereal Form, they could take physical damage, but when they were in Ethereal Form, they could not take physical damage, and they took extra damage from magic attacks. More often than not, this is going to be something that people take if they're going to be in a boss fight, or a raid fight, rather, in which physical damage is going to be the primary form of damage, or one in which reducing your threat by 10% would be incredibly advantageous, right? I could also see this being very good in PvP. When you're fighting somebody, you're typically fighting one of two types of players, a physical damage player or a magic damage player. Do keep in mind, Ethereal Form is permanent. This makes it versatile because there is no duration, right? Now, the problem with Ethereal Form is that if it becomes meta, everybody will be using it, right? So if there is a meta where magic classes or magic classless classes are less effective, let's say for PvP, everybody will take Ethereal Form to counter the physical damage classes. Is that a bad thing? Probably not, because then it will shake up the meta and perhaps less people will play physical damage forms. Perhaps Ethereal Form keeps physical damage builds in check. We don't know yet, I guess we'll find out, but I'm very excited about this one. Okay, number 2, the next Mystic Enchant to look out for is going to be the new Demonic Rage enchant. So what this says is that when you use Blood Rage while you're in Metamorphosis, it'll put you into a Demonic Rage for the duration of a standard Metamorphosis, which is 30 seconds. While active, your Shadow Cleave is going to have no cooldown, and physical damage is reduced by 10%. However, the trade-off is that you're going to lose 3% of your health every single second, which is a pretty big one, right? But I am pretty sure there's going to be some ways that players will be able to make that trade-off not really matter. Will this be PvP oriented? I can almost guarantee you no. However, will there be a PvE niche for this? I can almost guarantee you yes. Now, the only way this would not be good is if the downside proves to be something that you cannot make up for. So if we're losing too much health and we can't actually survive when we're trying to cleave, that would make it a very difficult Mystic Enchant to use. So first and foremost, this is Shadow Cleave. When you're in Metamorphosis, you'll inflict 110 shadow damage to an enemy target and nearby allies. This is basically a melee attack that does shadow damage in an AoE. Very, very strong. So if we go ahead and we pop Metamorphosis, and then if we were to pop the Blood Rage, you'll now notice no cooldown. Now, it seems like it's not as quick as you might want it to be. So you can see I'm just spamming Shadow Cleave. There's nothing preventing me, but I'm dying so fast. It's actually a fascinating concept, I must say. I think there might be something there. Now, when taking this talent into consideration, it is very important to keep in mind that there are a slew of different Mystic Enchants that work very well with Metamorphosis. The most profound one, of course, being Demonic Influence, which will allow you to make your Metamorphosis last indefinitely for its duration, while reducing some of the beneficial parts of it, right? However, it adds some pros too, giving you extra damage with your demons, as well as making them essentially have an unlimited mana pool. Will there be a Shadow Cleave build? Perhaps, right? You could just be a Shadow Bolt build and then switch to Shadow Cleave for AoE. And it's really that simple. And then when you're taking that extra damage, it probably won't matter in a raid setting. So with that, I think Shadow Cleave is something to look out for some PvE Shadow DPS. However, I might be wrong. There might be a Shadow hybrid build out there that I just haven't seen yet, and Shadow Cleave would be really cool with that as well. Keep in mind, cleaving with the Immolation Aura, massive AoE, so I really do see that being something to look out for in TBC. Next up, we have the Soul of the Warden random enchant. This is really sick, guys. This increases the effect of your Fan of Knives by 100%, increases the effect of your Deadly Throw by 10%, reduces the cooldown of Blink by 50%. Now, the really cool thing about this build is that it teaches you the ability Fan of Knives, and this ability causes 105% weapon damage with daggers and 70% weapon damage with all other weapons, and it instantly throws all of your weapons at targets within 8 yards, so this can proc things like instant poison, which is pretty good, which can also proc things like crippling poison. So it costs 50 energy, and what it essentially acts as is, at least as far as I'm concerned, it acts as a form of AoE damage. I'm not really too sure if this is viable as of yet. I have actually had a build sent to me that I could be trying. The main applicability I'm seeing here could possibly be some kind of Deadly Throw Fan of Knives build, right? Maybe, just maybe, that could work. You know, when you look at the PvP gear, we do have access to the throwing weapon now. Previously, the only way to get a throwing weapon was through dungeon gear in TBC as of this point. So yeah, maybe there's something there. It's pretty cool having Fan of Knives one expansion early and in a very unique way. I do expect that, assuming the build that I was sent is good, or somebody else finds out some way to make Fan of Knives work, that this ability in particular possibly will make it into some kind of meta build. We'll have to see. It's definitely unique and cool, and that's the kind of stuff I like to play. Another incredibly interesting new RE coming out is the Righteous Flames RE. Now, this is very interesting because its applicability is not really something that we've seen in abilities in Ascension or any WoW game before. What it does is it lets you use Inner Fire to boost the damage of your fire attacks. So, let's go ahead and just actually read it out. Righteous Flame says, fire damage is increased by 1% for each charge of Inner Fire, and reduces the charges granted by Inner Fire by 60%. Additionally, dealing fire damage removes a charge of Inner Fire. This can essentially act as about 16% increased fire damage for each of your attacks. Through grabbing the Mystic Enchant Improved Inner Fire, which will increase your total number of charges by 12, as well as the corresponding talent in the Discipline Rogue tree, as you can see right here, Improved Inner Fire, for an extra 12 from there as well. Overall, yes, you do get it cut down by 60%, but it will be completely fine with those two talents for quite a lot of casts. This allows you to get some kind of weird combo where, you know, you pop the Inner Fire and then you're going to go for the full fire, maybe something like Incinerate. You know, before this RE was nerfed for Incinerate, where it makes it hit multiple targets, you could pull 20k DPS with this particular talent. All you have to do is remind yourself to make that Inner Fire come back. Now, I'm not using the REs and the talents, so I have 3. Highly don't recommend that. But as you can see, if you could get that Inner Fire off, maybe in PvP even, right, and get that 16 or 17% increased fire damage for each of your attacks, that's pretty huge. Simultaneously, guys, if you're doing that in PvE, which is where I really do see this being used, that's basically 16% increased damage with your fire build the entire fight. Very, very high in diversity with the fire builds here, so I definitely do see Righteous Flames being used at some point. Okay, the next one we're going to be talking about is one that I've already made a video on with my Avenger Shield video, and that is the Pious Strikes RE. Now, Pious Strikes actually turns an ability that was otherwise not used very often, at least for PvP, right? Who knows? It's probably used for PvE, but my knowledge of that is a lot less. But for PvP, not so much. However, with the addition of Pious Strike, which now adds a Holy Nova effect to your Hammer of the Righteousness, that's pretty bonkers, because it's adding extra damage, and it's also adding extra healing, right? It's a very strong ability. Now, you can couple this with a brand new RE called Spare No Rod. What Spare No Rod does, if I go ahead and show you guys, your draw will probably drop, right? I can't believe this was added. It's actually a late game thing added to the alpha, as in it wasn't in here when I made my video. Sparing No Rod, okay? This increases the damage of your Hammer of the Righteous by 12% of your bonus spell damage, which will stack up to 3 times, so 36%. This makes your little Hammer of the Righteous into a hardcore spell power, spell damage rather, based nuke, right? Spammable.
very, very strong. Pious Strikes is going to be seen a lot. If you want to go ahead and check out a guide, go ahead and check out Galanorla's guide on the Ascension WoW forums. You can also simply find it if you go to the Hero Architect. I think this is not the latest version, but it might be. You might have to check the forums for that. But as you can see, can I type Galanorla? I sure can. And you can see all of his builds, one of which is Pious Paladin. This is a pretty good player, so if you want to go for a pretty good build, especially holy base builds, as you can see, somebody that you want to look up for that. And this is exactly where you're going to get your Pious builds. Keep in mind when the pre-patch goes live, guys, I'm pretty confident all those builds will be there. If they're not, that's a mistake. But if they are, you'll be able to look up those builds right away. Galanorla, like I said, gets you the Pious Strike build. Now, the next RE is not going to seem as powerful at first glance, but I do think it's something to be considered, and that's going to be Repart. Now, Repart is a brand new Mystic Enchant that allows your Feint ability to allow the use of Riposte for 6 seconds and give it a 100% chance to crit. And I do think, while this doesn't seem as glamorous as some of the other ones, it probably has pretty solid applicability. I want to go ahead and just try it real quick. So what Feint does on Project Ascension, just keep this in mind, is that it also just allows you to ignore one attack. So you have to time it properly, and it ignores an attack, even against players. So as you can see, the way this works is you use Feint, and then you simply riposte, right? And I don't have it upgraded, but it's pretty interesting to get that free crit. I do think a parry build will definitely be viable. Now, the way in which it is played, I am not too sure. What I wish I could see out of a talent such as Repart would be maybe something to go with the new Swashbuckler talents, or REs, I should say. Now, if you don't know, Swashbuckler is a new way of playing the game that they're attempting to add. Basically, what it makes you do is play only with a single one-handed weapon, which some people definitely want that fantasy. As you can see, we have matched blows, giving you an extra 5% parry. That would imply that they want you to play a parry-based one-hand build. So if Repart had something that increased one-handed damage, so you can kind of make up for not having an offhand and also not having a two-handed weapon, maybe a Swashbuckler parry build could be viable, right? You also have things like Flurry of Blows to give you 20% increased melee haste. Doesn't quite make up for not having an offhand or a two-handed, but it's a good step in the right direction, right? So yeah, I think Repart will be something we'll see a lot more of. Alright, so let's talk about the next one. That's going to be Plaguebearer. Now, Plaguebearer is interesting because it adds new mechanics to playing a bear archetype. So what it allows you to do is when you use your mangle and when you use your swipe, you're actually going to put a disease on your target. Now, your mangle is going to spread rabies, and your swipe is going to spread infected blood and rabies. This is very interesting. Obviously, this is something that it's not very self-explanatory. You have to test it. When you see I mangle here, apparently my target now has rabies and their physical damage taken is increased by 30. What's cool about this is that things like rabies are typically just overworld abilities that you get from animals like wolves and bears in the wild, and now it's something that your actual bear form can do. So what I've noticed from this particular RE is that what it does, or at least what it did before it was nerfed, as I'm pretty sure bear got nerfed at some point, or at least they're planning to nerf bear as of the recording of this video. What it basically does is just gives bear form a crap ton more damage, right? And so I definitely guarantee you that we're going to see more of it in TBC. Alright, and for the next one, you see me using my crossbow, and that is absolutely no mistake. That's going to be the Paratrooper Mystic Enchant. This is really cool. Brand new, your disengage launches you higher into the air, activates a combat parachute. While airborne, the high vantage point increases the critical strike chance of your hunter shots by 25%, and when the parachute is detached, you gain 80% range attack speed. This is not only good for PvP, where I do definitely see it being used the most. It's also very, very interesting for PvE, right? You definitely still get the bonuses for PvE that could boost your DPS in a considerable way. Now, it's not something that I've tried, but if you look at it, 25% increased chance to crit while you're in the air, and obviously this is something you're going to be able to put on a 25-second cooldown. You can actually reduce the cooldown of disengage as well. If we go and take a look at our REs here, if I just simply type in disengage, we have concentrated disengage, reduce the mana cost, hasty to reduce the cooldown by 2.5 seconds, survival tactics, so that's also based on a talent, that reduces it by another 6, on top of the talent that must be, let's see, let's go ahead and check in the survival tree so I don't misspeak. That's going to be another 4. We're talking 12 seconds. So that's going to be a 13-second disengage. So every 13 seconds, you get 25% increased crit chance, and when you land, you get 80% ranged attack speed. Now, this obviously has some synergy with quite a lot of different things, basically every hunter shot, right? As well as the fact that when you disengage, you're going to go a little bit farther back, But there's even more synergy with some new stuff. We have this brand new RE called I Have the High Ground. Yes, it looks memey. It really does. Deal 3% additional damage to targets while you have the high ground. You were on the high ground when you were 5 yards above your target. I am definitely 5 yards above my target for most of that, right? And I'm critting more. We're talking about a burst potential that is incredibly high, and I definitely see this being used for some wonky builds, perhaps aim shot, perhaps one-shot builds. It's gonna happen unless it's nerfed heavily before launch. Just you wait. Alright, so the next RE I want to talk about is one you've also seen in my previous Avengers Shield video, and that is Eldritch Knight. Now, Eldritch Knight is very unique, and it will most definitely be used in PvE for sure, and in some PvP builds, as you saw from my video as well, and that's because what it allows you to do is take an RE and completely negate an entire part of, or an entire limitation of, rather, of your class, which is your mana pool. So look at this, guys. As I'm casting my Shadow Bolt and I'm auto-attacking at the same time, I'm entirely negating the mana spent on this Shadow Bolt, or at least half of it, right? And that's pretty significant. It's about 200 mana per auto-attack. And it's actually ridiculous with these one-handed, very fast caster weapons like the Gladiator Salvation I have on me right now. Now, this was nerfed. It used to give about 700 mana, but I still think with it giving 200 mana, that if you're capable of auto-attacking in between casts or just using it in PvP with some kind of Avenger Shield type of build, that this is going to be very top tier, or at least good, and I think that you will definitely see it a lot in TBC. Okay, so the next one I want to show you guys is a really cool one called Psychic Barrage. This finally makes Howl of Terror not just a crappy version of Psychic Scream. It makes it to where your Howl of Terror now triggers a Mind Blast on all afflicted targets if Mind Blast is known. So let me go ahead and give you guys an example of how this works. So basically what this lets me do is every single time I Howl of Terror, I'm going to get a free AoE Mind Blast. That's not just good for PvP, I mean it could be good for PvP, but it's really good for PvE. What this is going to allow you to do is on a 40-second cooldown, which is not great, you're going to get some more damage in an AoE. It's going to be some burst AoE damage, but it's going to hit really hard with the Mind Blast. Now, this is what a Mind Blast hits. 1348. Okay, 1348 with 1345 spell damage, and you can get more than that pretty easily, I would say. So that's going to be able to hit all targets around you. Now, I'd like to display this for you, but as you can see, it's not coded properly on the alpha right now, and that's fine because it's alpha, but it's definitely going to be something I think you will see. Howl of Terror is Howl of Terror, right? You have to devote 2 talent points just to make this worth your time. Is a AoE Mind Blast worth it? I guess we'll find out, but I definitely think people are going to try it. But okay, guys, that's going to be the end of this episode. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like and subscribe. I've got a brand new playthrough video coming out, should be tomorrow, for the brand new league that we have for Project Ascension, so stay tuned for that. Wanted to get it out today, but it's going to have to come out tomorrow. So like I said, guys, if you even want to see that, make sure to give this video a like, and I will see you guys in the next episode.